Good morning, everybody. Wow. Running late, which is when you use technology for something different, and then you want to use technology for what you usually use technology for, and you had sort of put it in a different place. Apparently, it's not exactly happy coming back to home base. It is a little disoriented and it has to sort of resync itself. And so Matthew was busy trying to get it to collaborate with him. And so I'm going, well, Matthew's going to be here soon, I'm sure. I'm sure you guys were wondering, are they going to show up this morning? So we are here.
Yeah.
And we have gotten some questions. And one we're going to do today is getting people to blow their noses. And it's like, well, let's see. Usually, all you have to do is find something to blow your nose with. And so, I'm going to demonstrate. Yeah, Matthew has that too. I'm going to use a cloth, and Matthew's going to use it looks like a tissue. So mine is reusable, and Matthew's is, oh, toilet paper. There you go. Matthew's is disposable, and mine's reusable. But classically, what we do is we sense that there is this fluidy, gooey stuff that is in the nasal passageways, and it's blocking my ability to freely move air through my nasal passageway into the back of my throat, down into my breathing system, into my lungs, so that I can respire or I can breathe. And so when I feel it block up, a little bit even, or it sort of is irritating the hairs that I have there, because there are little tiny hairs up in there that catch things. And as we grow older, some people grow bigger, thicker hairs, and so they stick out of your nose. I mean, some people know that. But so what happens is you put it up here, you tend to block a little bit, and then you forcefully pull, and you may do one nostril and then the other, because you can then you use a little physical assist to get it out. But the physical part is just catching the stuff typically, and then removing it from the bottom part of the nasal passageways. What you have to do is you have to build the air up by breathing through your mouth. You have to breathe in through your mouth, because otherwise you'd suck the stuff back up into your nose. So what you want to do is breathe in through your mouth, and then force it, close all the openings except you relax the nares in the back. So you have 7 openings to your mouth, oral
Whoa.
cavity anyway.
Whoa. Okay. Well, Tipa, I feel like you've just named a million steps that you like, and things that we take for granted, right? I mean, how often are some of these things that we feel are quote unquote simple tasks, simple
Yeah,
things to do? I mean, all of those things that you just named out, and I'm sure there's like a million more that our body is
right,
doing
right.
in the
Yeah,
background.
yeah.
Holy smokes, that's a lot.
Yeah, and so many people go back to when they had children, and so you'd show the children how to blow their nose, and you would hold the cloth in place because they don't have the motor skill to get that really good and do the pushing the air out at the same time. But what you don't realize is we're also having to learn how to close off all the other openings, and you want to be thoughtful because your eustachian tubes, which is how the air it can go up into the inner ear, which is why when you fly or you change altitudes or whatever, if you hold your nose, you can get them to pop
Yeah.
because it's the pressure is building up. So there's this system built in. When babies drink bottles, they actually are okay because they have very short eustachian tubes, and then they start to develop a neck, and the eustachian tubes go at a diagonal, which is why you don't want them drinking things lying down, because they can have fluid, that milk product, go up into their ears, and it helps foster infections. So one of the things that we have to learn how to do is block everything. So we're going to block the nares, we're going to block the lips, we're going to block the eustachian tubes, and we're going to force the air that we have down below. We're going to reverse it. We're going to force it up and out through the nasal openings versus just through the mouth, which is how most of us typically breathe unless we're trained in yoga.
Yeah.
It's called your Ujjayi breath, Ujjayi breath, and it's your power breath. And so what you're wanting to think about is, I've lost my ability to have the skill to direct my breath. So there are some possibilities of helping someone. Classically, sometimes if you do the motion, you say blow. Sometimes you can get people to spontaneous, like it goes back to that old cerebellar brain where you go blow. And it's just, if you give too many verbal instructions, you're likely to get nothing. But if you say the words, blow, and you do all the motor things, and I would recommend hand under hand, so it's truly like mimicking what the person would have done, you might be able to get a blowout. The thing that some people were thinking of, and I know our questioner were thinking of, what if blowing candles? And it's the thing, well, that's not what you're doing. When you blow candles, where do you blow?
Yeah.
So you're actually closing the nares to blow outward. So what you may want to think about trying is suck in through your mouth, Matthew. And then now try it just with your nose.
See, it worked.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, it did.
It worked.
So what I did is I got you to breathe in and then go, which if you don't have snot in your nose, all you're getting is air moving out. If you do have snot in your nose, that's the beginning of blowing your nose. So it won't be as efficient or as effective as truly being able to block everything and go, but it can help. The other thing you can try to do is bring a little bit of pepper or something near someone's nose and elicit a
sneeze. Yeah,
a sneeze.
That would
because a sneeze is that forceful thing of flinging out whatever fluidy mess you have in there, and it's get it out, get it out, get it out. And it's a spontaneous thing. So you could try something like that. But other than that, you just have to continue to clean a droopy nose. And it's really frustrating because you truly can't have the fine motor dexterity skill in your internal system. You're not recognizing, oh, look, fluid, you want to get rid of it. They're not. Now, some people do, well, some people we know do that. Even people who have postnasal drip, frequently develop a habit of snorting. They and swallow down because it's just so annoying. It drips toward the back and it's just like, but there's some of it that's coming. And so sinus people, things like that. So Matthew, I'm going to pause because that's a lot of data. I understand that.
Yeah. And I see how easily, especially if I'm living with the diagnosis of neurodegeneration, if something is changing the way that I can utilize and coordinate all of that stuff, how this could really start to become a challenge. And even just the idea, it's funny, the idea of saying blow. And I think like in the question or what we got was every time they would say that, of course, the person would go,
yeah,
it would blow out to them. I mean, blow. It's, and it reminds me a lot of too, like pull down your pants.
Yeah.
Pull down your pants. And so, and someone pulling up the pants because pulling up versus pushing down. And so those little pieces, those little things that really make a difference that we can shift and try to see if it's helpful. Because as easy as we think it is, when you start adding other things onto it that make it harder for us to coordinate those, it's not. Because there's just so much to it. Yeah, it's not.
It's not. It's not easy to blow your nose. I mean, children learning. I should have thought to look up at what age. I will look up and we'll post it up in a comment. They start to learn to blow their nose. They're not very good at it at first. It happens later on, like somewhere in the after toddler, but before first grade typically. So, but it may be kindergarten. I'll check and see. But what I would say is it happens when we go from, at first it's not noticing. So, classically when we're in the emerald state of mind, we wait too long and then we're seeking a Kleenex really quick and it's like, oh shoot. And so that's where you'll often find kids using their collars or their shirt sleeves or rolling their nose across here, that kind of stuff. And then we get to where it's, like sensory. So it's only when it really bothers me that I just get rid of it at the end. I'm not really getting rid of what's up there. So I buy myself longer time because I have to think ahead. And so then I'm in an amber state. And then as I move into Ruby state, I just don't have the skill. I don't. And what's really tricky is when I move to a Pearl state and I'm toward the end of Ruby and Pearl, we have to be thoughtful because when I drink or when I eat, some of the fluid might come back out my nose, which means my sphincter control, my control over closure of openings has become incompetent. So I would also have trouble sometimes keeping my lips closed against gravity. I have trouble controlling my eustachian tubes. I have trouble swallowing. So it's like that choking, that coughing. Sometimes what you'll see is when I go to drink, I end up with dripping here. And it's not a cold. It's not my allergies. It's incompetence in the back of my throat there.
And Teepa, you bring up a really good point. As things progress, we get into more of a Pearl Gem state. Thinking about how often in this particular part of the journey, so I'm getting more support from people around me, and how often I've seen people immediately go and just start wiping the nose, and I've even seen people use those suckers that they'll use for infants. And so thoughts on suggestion on how to, if we know it's clogged, we know there's stuff in there and you can tell it's hard for the person to breathe, what would be the suggestion to support that's not
I still use modified hand under hand, which means I want to make sure I'm in physical connection and I'm sharing. Okay, so we're going to try to get that out of there. I'm going to try to suck it out. I'm going to pull on it. Okay, here we go. Okay, and you breathe. Okay, we're doing it. Yeah, good job. You got it. We did it. So, again, the amount of force, amount of effort will depend on my tolerance of my person. And sometimes stuff really builds up and it's nasty. And yes, we want and need to do something, but I should always do it with my partner, not to my partner, I think is the message I would send. Yeah. So hopefully this is helpful for somebody who is struggling a little bit with what to do. And is that, it's really like cold and flu season. It's like, yeah. So be thoughtful and really consider how would I want, and maybe practice with somebody, having them blow your nose. So you get a feel for what would feel okay, what would not. What might be too much and might be, that's okay. I could tolerate that kind of thing. And then really look at the person you're working with, make sure you're on track. All right, everybody, till next time, take care of yourselves, take care with your care. Bye all.
Thank you, Teepa. Bye, everybody.